Hello, you are my first spectator today. So now there is European team club championship in action. So my idea for today to illustrate games of Magnus Carlsen from this competition. I don't know how many games I will be able to do today, but okay, if I will continue because, of course, Magnus is a great player and always very interesting to see him in chessboard. Good evening. So, in first round, I played, but not this year. I played many times for different teams. First of all, I want to check if everything is okay with video and with voice. Please confirm it. Okay, so in round one, Magnus played with black against Latvian chess player Nikita Meshkov. D4 was played. Okay, I will flip board because just a moment. Flip board because I want to see position from side of Magnus. This game Magnus played with black, so when Magnus will play with white, I will flip board again. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6. Hi. Hello. З України хтось є? Когось цікавить то, що я показую з України? Ну, дуже приємно, дуже приємно. Звідки ви? d5, g3. So, Catalan opening, very solid opening, and black has many possibilities. Magnus played bishop b4 check. Біла церква. Дуже приємно. Гарного вам вечора. As I explained that if somebody is from Ukraine, I'm speaking in Ukrainian language. So after g3, black has several moves. Bishop b4 played Magnus. Is not good enough. Okay, I hope it will be better in a few minutes sometimes. Sometimes there are connection problem. Okay, so bishop b4. Okay, so bishop b4 check, bishop d2. White has other options, so knight bd2 is possible. For example, if d takes c4, bishop g2, and if c3, b takes c3, bishop takes c3, rook b1, white has very good compensation for the pawn. Of course, black cannot take another pawn because after queen a4 check, knight c6, knight takes d4, black just losing the piece. That's very primitive trap, of course, but because I can imagine that amounts of my spectators could be some beginners, sometimes I am illustrating also very simple variations. For stronger players, I just want to explain that main line for black in this position is b5 after a4, c6, castle, castle, and white has compensation for the pawn. Okay, so this is very complicated game. And knight c3 is possible. Knight c3 we have seen in the game Magnus Carlsen contra Hans Niemann. Okay, so bishop d2, bishop e7, What is choice? A5 is possible. Interesting that after bishop g2 castle, Boris Gelfand. My games from Magnus tour. Okay, so I analyzed two games. My game against Erigaishi, very bad game, and my game against Magnus, decent game. So I have 13 games more. Okay, I can try. Some games were terrible, but okay, maybe not all, but some of them surely I will show, but not today. So after castle, it's very interesting that such a great expert of opening as Boris Gelfand played Queen C1 here, not the traditional move. So what is point of Queen C1? Because Queen C2 is certainly much more natural than Queen C1, but Boris played Queen C1 several times. So it was some preparation, surely. How I understand this, I want to explain. So after castle, natural move, black can take the pawn. This is gambit variation. Okay, of course, it's very far from simple. White has a good compensation and a lot of theory here. Important to know that after queen c2, for example, black cannot play b5 immediately because after a4 they are in trouble. After bishop takes d2, white will take with knight f to d2, attack the pawn. And c6 is impossible because a takes b5, and again after bishop takes d2, white will take with this knight. So because of this, much better for black, bishop takes d2 immediately. Now white cannot take this because pawn is hanging. So white should take with another knight, and now b5. a4, c6, b3, c takes b3, knight takes b3. Okay, many games was played from this position. White has good compensation, but black has extra pawn. Thanks for your subscription. Thanks for your respect of my channel. So we'll continue. Okay, so it's easy to understand that idea of queen c1 to defend pawn c4. But what is difference between queen c2 and queen c1? There is difference because after queen c2, the main theoretical line is c5, and after d takes c5, black can play d4 with plan knight c6 and e5. If c takes d5, the main theoretical line is c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen b6. Important move to provoke e3 because at the moment white cannot play bishop e3 because bishop is under pin. Of course, also impossible bishop c3. Queen takes d4. So e3, it's correct line. E takes d5. Castle, knight c6. This position. Takes. Also many games was played from this position. So as I understand, idea of queen c1 is if now black plays c5, white wants to take here, not on d5, because if takes on d5 again, black can use the same method, and I don't see any advantage of queen c1 if compared with queen c2. So d takes c5, it's my prediction. And if d4, white has idea to take and play queen f4. So this is difference. Now white has promising position because for black it's not so easy to push e5. For example, knight c6, just like bd2, and in some moment. Hmm, there is interesting question about chess memory, about lines. So now it's promising position for white. Okay, I will finish this topic and then I will answer. So now e5 is not possible. If rook e8, for example, white can play knight e5. Again, white has very promising position here. Okay, so now about memories. Mm, you can trust me, I have quite a good memory. But if I don't understand ideas, if I am not looking for each move with my own head, mm, I, I can memory just variation, for example, computer giving some variation, but it's for very very short time. For example, uh, I was curious what computer suggestion in this suggesting this line in French defense. I was curious about this line. This knight f3, bishop c6, knight g5. So remember that bishop d6 is possible, knight d7 is possible as well, and I have seen computer's recommendation. I had illusions that I understand more or less what is this, but few days ago I came back to this position and I realized that I cannot remember any variation. So what is this? Because I used computer. So because I didn't try to find each move with my own head. So this is forbidden for me. This is nightmare if grandmaster cannot remember anything. So okay, it's very individual. Okay, Fischer random I can play. Okay, I can play also kissing a queen, but okay, it's very funny. There are very funny games, but they have. Okay, so chess is serious. Uh, Kissing a queen, and Janus, it's like entertainment. So, uh, okay, it's very individual, but I don't recommend you just memorize variations. So it's, in my opinion, much better if you try to understand ideas. So understand why you want to play this move, why not another move, and because in other case, if you will try just remember variation, okay. According to my experience, this is hardly successful. Okay, probably somebody can do it, but I hardly can recommend something which I cannot do and which is difficult for me. So, okay, let's come back. So I explain about queen c1. Okay, but after queen c1, better for black to play bishop e7 and after castle, something like c6. And probably in this case, queen on c1 a little bit less active than on c2. Well, but so bishop e7 played Magnus, bishop g2 c6, and now queen c2. Totally normal move, of course. After castle, d takes c4 is hardly good for black because, in my opinion, after simple a4, white has more than enough compensation for the pawn, typical Catalan compensation. So my prediction that after castle, Magnus planned to play knight bd7 or just castle. But I want to tell you story how is possible to lost this position with white very, very quickly. So queen b3. This is a normal move. I played this against Bartolomei Machea. Castle. Bishop b4. I played castle. So in my game against Machea was castle, knight bd7, bishop f4, b6, knight c3, knight bishop b7, rook c1, knight h5, something like this. Was my game against Machea and many other games, of course. But I will show you bishop b4, creative lines. And it's not so stupid. White want to play knight bd2 if queens will be changed somewhere. White king could be good also in center. Well, for example, something like this. Queen e7, so white can take and to play rook c1, not hurry with castle. Probably e3, king e2 will be possible in future. So bishop b4 is not so stupid, of course, nothing special. Black can react by normal moves like knight bd7 or b6, for example. So totally normal position for both. But black can try to punish opponent after bishop b4 utilize high tactical resource in this position. So d takes c4. It's creative move. And now, if white is taking the bishop, black can just take here and take here, and black is extra pawn. Of course, white can go somewhere with his bishop from d8, and they have enough compensation because of two bishops advantage. For example, bishop c7 takes. But okay, again, matter of taste. Don't hurry, please. I hope you have time. So I will consider queen takes c4 now. But firstly, I want to explain what is going on after bishop takes e7. Of course, it's matter of taste who prefers to bishop's advantage, who prefers to have an extra pawn. Okay, it's playable position for both. Of course, after bishop takes e7, totally reasonable alternative for black is just to take here, and after queen takes c4 to play knight bd7 to prepare e5. Also, totally playable position. But well, so queen takes c4, very natural move. And queen b6, your recommendation was wrong, because after bishop takes e7, queen takes b2, queen c3, black is just losing, so queen b6 is not a good idea. So after normal move like knight bd7, white is slightly better, because now not so easy to prepare e5, although black can try do it with rook e8, for example. But okay, so main idea, b5 is anti-positional because bishop takes e7, b takes c4, very bad endgame. If queen takes e7, queen just go back and black has bad structure, for example this, and knight will go to b3. If black will not play c5, it can be problem with future, I mean positional problem, something like this. So tactical idea is queen d5. Now what to do? Queen is attacked, and white cannot take, of course, because black will take. So after queen d5, I don't remember who was played. It wasn't a famous player, but white played queen c3, only move. After knight e4, white played natural move, queen a3, and resigned after queen c4. So, and this resign wasn't premature, of course, because there is mate in threat, queen c1 mate, and same time bishop is hanging. So white is losing the piece without any compensation. So it's an incredible example how it's possible to win in, yes, blunder by white, of course, but till now all of this move were totally correct, and after knight e4, of course, white should take on e7, only move. And after knight takes c3, knight takes c3, queen a5. I think this is the best square for black queen. Bishop takes, king takes, castle. We have quite an interesting position. So white has rook and knight against the queen. And material slightly better for black, because rook, knight, and pawn is equal to queen. Just rook and knight is not equal. But this position, I'm not sure that black is better, because white has very strong center, very good bishop. So bishop g2 is much more active than bishop on c8, I mean, and if black will try to push quickly c5 or e5, it will be difficulties. So in my opinion, queen b4, just rook b1, rook a b1, and then a3 is coming. In my opinion, the best plan for black is just to play knight bd7, and for example, rook d1, knight f6, rook c1, bishop d7, and then bishop e8, rook d8, something like this. And I would evaluate this position like approximately equal. This is my opinion, okay? Not necessarily agree with me, but it's my opinion. So white has his trumps, black has his trumps too. Maybe I would prefer white. I'm not sure about rook ac1. Probably I would prefer something like a3 b4 as soon as possible. Or maybe rook fd1 is normal, because I have idea if e5 to have d5. So, or even I have idea to take. If black takes, I can take and play rook d8 check and rook d1, so it can be tactically unpleasant for black. So maybe I will play this. And now probably I would play a3 b4. So I have some pressure in queen's flank. So probably if I would have choice, I would prefer white. But objectively, uh, I'm not sure who is better here. So yes, of course, Magnus game from round uh, two against now Naumann inspired me for this report. But of course, we will consider this game. Yes, I have seen Anand Mamediyarov. I am impressed with this. Rook takes a2. Rook takes a2 is quite standard idea, but okay, so I will write for myself Anand Mamediyarov. Anand Mamediyarov, but it will be not for today, of course. Okay, so queen b3 is possible. Let's come back to queen c2, castle, castle, b6 played immediately. Thanks for your subscription. Another very logical move is knight d7 here. Okay, b6. Bishop f4 played Nikita Mishkov. Also possible to play rook d1. Okay, bishop f4, bishop a6. Now main move is b3. Knight d7. Rook d1, something like this. If, for example, rook c8, white has idea knight c3. If takes, knight d2 is possible. Something like this. If bishop a6, queen a4. So, but okay, c takes d5, solid line. White wants to have solid position and rook c1. Now black to move, black needs to do something. Knight bd7 played Magnus, of course, probably there are alternatives. Knight bd7 is possible to consider. He played knight bd7. Maybe queen c8 is possible to consider. Maybe bishop d6 is possible to consider as well here. But okay, so Magnus played knight bd7, quite natural move, knight c3. Now white protected pawn e2, and they have threat queen a4. Immediately was impossible because pawn a2 was under attack. Thanks again for your subscription. Who is doing this? Knight h5 played Magnus. I don't know what was his idea after just bishop d2. If he is happy with draw, or he wanted to play something else, but what? I don't know. But anyway, Nikita Mishkov played queen a4. So, is he playing for win? Maybe. Or maybe. So, it's question for Nikita. I would ask him. Of course, he has no obligation to answer me, but for example, if imagine that he knows that Magnus after bishop d2 will repeat moves and agree to draw. So would Nikita play queen a4 or not? Okay, totally possible that Magnus planned something else, like rook c8 with idea if queen a4 to play knight b8. I don't know how strong it is. Maybe this is just bad, but maybe possible. Who knows? Because okay, but maybe Magnus would not repeat. But I don't know if it's a good position for black objectively. Even knight e5, f6, bishop h3 probably necessary to consider. Before also possible. Maybe even before, but after b4 I'm not sure. Queen e8, if b5, rook c4 is coming. Maybe it's good for black. Maybe not. So chess is quite complicated and very interesting game. So my recommendation is to play knight e5. Okay, it's not like prepared recommendation, but I would like to consider this. This bishop h3, and he is taking, takes on c8. What is this? Okay, maybe even queen takes c8 is possible. Knight d5, queen f5. Maybe black is just good here, but maybe not. Bishop e3, for example. What is this? Wild position. But okay, Nikita didn't play bishop d2, so queen a4 he played. Logical move. And now I think black cannot play bishop b7 because of standard combination. Bishop c7 is coming. If not take the bishop, white will be much better. If queen takes c7, knight takes d5 is coming. So queen d6 or queen d8. So just take rook c7. This is very bad for black because two pieces are hanging. If bishop c8, knight e5 is coming. What I think about Carlsen Niemann, I think that there are too much attention about this story. This story doesn't deserve so much attention, in my opinion. So I think consider games of Magnus from Austria. It's much more interesting than such a scandal. But it is my private opinion. So please allow me to come back to real chess. So knight takes f4 only move. Now we understand. So queen takes a6, knight takes g2, king takes g2. So very quiet position. Queen c8 played Magnus, okay. White has idea knight b5, rook c7. Sorry. About Kasparov. Okay, it depends in which time. Okay, so probably he could beat Gary if they will play now, but also it's questions. So it's not so obvious if, for example, if Gary will prepare it, seriously. Okay, probably Magnus is favorite, but at least Gary will have chance as well, in my opinion. Okay, so queen c8. Queen takes c8. If not take, black can play queen b7, rook fc8, and have more complicated game. Karpov is the best. Okay, maybe he is the best. It's matter of taste. If you like Karpov as a player, it's your choice. I like him as well as a player. Okay, I cannot. I'm ready. I'm not ready to tell that he is the best. Okay, in some period, of course, he was the best in the world. But okay, but I really like Karpov, like chess player. But it's matter of taste. So knight b5. Another concrete move. So black cannot play obviously now a6 because this is simply blunder. Knight c7 is coming, and now after rook b8, white can take on a6, and black hardly can sufficient compensation for the pawn. After rook a7, knight takes d5, white is just weak. It's important that king on g2, please attract your attention. If image if image white king on g1, a6 was a very nice move for black. Because after knight c7, rook a7, knight takes d5, black can take on c1 with check. So it looks like doesn't matter where is king on g2 on g1 because main actions are in another flank, but because of king on g2, black cannot play a6 in this position. So, if there is question about US championship, okay, probably I will prepare some report about this. I will write for myself, US champ. So a6, please attract your attention that a6 is impossible because white has king on g2, not on g1. If you imagine that king on g1, a6 the strongest move in this position, and black is even slightly better after a6, but not here. So Magnus played rook d8. Okay, so not so obvious move. Rook c4, okay, it's possible, but the question, what is your idea after b3? Of course, hardly you can take and play a6. After rook c7, white is better. Question how much better, but certainly more pleasant to play with white. But rook d8 is quite strange move, frankly speaking. So because white has c line after this move, so really strange move for me. I don't know why Magnus played this. Okay, but probably it's important to understand if black has any reasonable alternatives. A pawn, maybe I will lose this a pawn, but white can attack black pawns f7 or b. For example, if king f8, rook b7 is very unpleasant. Black cannot take immediately because there is check. If bishop d8, knight e5 is coming. So g5. G5 is your proposition. Here, G5 is your proposition, right? Yes, G5 is possible. Of course, I see that at the moment, white has no concrete threat because if imagine that black is doing something like h6, for example, if white takes, black will take after knight takes rook c2. Two pawns are hanging and hardly white is better here. Of course, I don't think that white can be worse, but and after h6, white can do something else like e3, for example. White has logical moves, so white is not necessary to take immediately. Also, I want to attract your attention that black cannot prepare a6 with king f8 because after e3, for example, a6, knight c7, again, if rook b8, knight takes e6, but after rook takes e7 with king on g8, knight takes d5 was possible, but now knight takes e6, unfortunately. So if black wants to prepare a6, king h8, but this is, it's very artificial move. Maybe it's possible, but extremely difficult to play such a move. Idea to prepare a6, however, but Anyway, I'm not sure that this is works because this, if here white can take, and if rook takes, now after rook takes a6, white has rook c7. Okay, but king h8, of course, no reason to consider. Normal move, more or less normal move was a5, for example. Just to avoid. Or, for example, okay, f6 immediately not possible because knight c7, so a5 was possible somehow, and then probably king f8, something like this. But rook d8 looks like very strange. Bishop f6 looks like strange as well, because black allows knight d6, which looks like unpleasant. G5 is possible, but what is special goal of this move if white plays calmly? Something like e3. So black can play king f8, black can play bishop d8 probably. But about bishop d8 I'm not so sure, because white can take and take, and now after rook c2 white can try to play this, and after rook b2 rook c1 is extremely unpleasant. So bishop on d8 is hardly. But maybe I'm not right. Black can take here, and after this, just this. After this, knight f8, and this is draw. White cannot win because d7 square is under control. So only what white can do here is rook b8 and draw. Rook a6, of course, knight e5 is coming. So rook b8, f6, rook takes b6, and it's possible to agree for draw. Okay, but Magnus played a very strange move, rook d8, in my opinion, but he played this. So, what he wants? I don't know. For example, white has many good moves in this position. Probably he wants to provoke his opponent to play rook c6, a6, knight c7, and this rook c1, and later try to utilize pseudo-active position of white knight. So something like this, rook b8, and then rook b7, and then bishop d8, something like this. Probably this was idea of Magnus, quite deep idea. I don't think, I'm not sure that it works, but at least this is understandable. So provoke his opponent to have knight on c7. Also, rook b7, immediately white will have knight e8 and knight d6. So probably black needs, I don't know what black needs, for example, if e3, because if king f6, even this is, this is, yes, this is possible, and rook c8 check. And if bishop d8, white can just take and play this. So, добрый вечер. But maybe, okay, at least opponent can have scare to lost somewhere his knight, but objectively I'm not sure that this idea is works, especially because white has also plan a4 a5, and after exchange knight will be free. So, but okay, congratulations, but I'm not recommend you to play bullet. and I not recommend to anybody to do it. So White has many good moves, but Nikita Meshkov played knight c7, rook b8, rook c6. His idea is understandable as well. I don't know why Magnus didn't play rook c8. Natural move, but probably knight b5 was planned by Nikita and make a draw if a6, knight a7 is possible. So this is good for white. After rook a8, very lucky that Nikita planned to play knight c7 and to finish this game. So rook b8. Okay, hard to believe that this is play to win because objectively black is not better, of course. But at least game is continuing. Насчет этюда, ну смотря какие этюды. Я вообще-то этюды решать не люблю. Хотя смотря какие. Потому что очень часто бывает такое, ну что ясно, что надо делать белым, и у соперника 3 возможности, все их рассчитывать, но это как-то непрактично. Но делу вкуса. So, rook b8 played. Yes, my stream in English. Sometimes I'm answering in another languages because my spectators writing in another language. So if I can answer it, I can do it. I'm doing it. Okay, yes, I am in Lviv now. So rook b8 played Magnus, rook c6 played Nikita, rook b7 played Magnus, knight a6 played Nikita. So again, okay, white is slightly better. We can evaluate this position because white has control over c line. G5. Knight b8 is possible, but after just take. Black cannot take because rook c7, they are losing the pawn. If another rook, just rook c1, it's still not so pleasant for black to play in this position. Probably nothing special, but certainly much more pleasant to play with white here. So g5, rook a1, natural reaction, g4, knight e1. Yes, black is quite passive. Knight e1, okay, knight d2 is possible as well, but Nikita likes d3 square for his knight. Okay, logical choice. But knight d2, nothing wrong in my opinion. Then after knight d2, white can play e3, king f1, king e2, something like this, and probably to prepare slowly before a4, some pressure in queen's flank. Rook c7 is possible in some variation as well. And after knight f6, black will not have e4 square for his knight, so knight d2 also possible, but okay, so for example, knight f6. Okay, but now white can prepare something like b4, a4, b4, b5, a4. Try to improve their position in this flank somewhere to prepare a5. About my game against Niemann, I played so terrible. It was incredible how terrible I played. So against such a stupid play, it wasn't necessary for my opponent any cheating. It's a big shame for me. This is a game. So about this game, I can have complaints only for myself. Not only because I played uh, terrible, but I couldn't think. I played many moves instantly. So uh, I remember that I just gave him pawn e4. I just didn't see that he can take my pawn e4 with rook from e8. So it was some nightmare. It was total collapse of my brains during this game. So, but okay, why this happened? This is my problem, but this is okay. Niemann played quite well, but okay. I hope that at least in nearest future, I will not repeat to play in such a style. I'm sorry. Also, I'm sorry to Niemann for such a bad game. Okay, so knight e1 played Meshkov, knight f6, knight d3, bishop d6, rook c8 played Meshkov. Of course, white has other reasonable alternatives. For example, knight c7 was possible to prepare knight b5 or to provoke exchange. White has quite promising position. Objectively, white is slightly better, but probably nothing special. Black can defend something like this. Bishop b8, but okay, slightly better for white. So rook c8 played Mishkov. h3. Okay, he wants to exchange this pawn. Don't have weakness h2 in future probably. Okay, so h3 h5 takes knight a6 b4, not necessary but possible. White has many reasonable moves. For example, a4 again was alternative, but okay, so knight b4, he wants to transfer his knight to c6. So this position, white is more active, but nothing special. Black is preparing to play rook c7, probably exchange rooks and equalize game. f3 takes, king g7 played. Magnus, I don't know why. So rook c7 looks like more natural move. Exchange rooks. So king g7. Deep idea, which I don't understand. Probably simply there is no idea. It's also possible. G file, okay, but white has no weakness, and white still a little bit more active, but black has no special weakness, so it's quite drawish. But okay, white can try to do something like, for example, to play b4 somewhere. Take here, for example, this to play this, if this knight a7, this idea knight c8, so this king e3. It still have some pressure, but well, it should be draw. King e3, knight e8. Okay, so now against b4, black knight is ready to jump to c4 via d6. bishop b8, knight b5, not knight c6. Knight c6 was possible, but knight b5. Okay, solid. b3. Technical move, so pawn must be in light square opposite to black bishop, so white has no weakness. Maybe would win, but not sure, not easy even for Magnus. Knight d7, f4 played Nikita. Knight f6, knight f2, not allow knight e4. Knight g8, knight d3, knight f6, and move repetitions. Nothing special, but okay. It's I cannot tell that this is a totally dry game. Okay, it were some interesting moments as well. Okay, from round 2, game against Naumann. Second game, yeah. e4. Yes, Nikita played solid and played good. Okay, I cannot tell that this is this is amazing game, but okay, I will flip board. Yes, knight f3, knight c6, Scotch. Knight f6, the most popular move now, knight f6. Although Paul Keres preferred to play bishop c5. And Antoanetta Stefanova and his husband Ivan Cheparinov likes to play queen f6. Okay. Wilhelm Steinitz sometimes played queen h4, which is dubious according to modern theory, but okay. So knight f6 was choice of Alexander Naumann. Magnus took on c6, played e5, queen e7. The main move, although other moves are possible as well. For example, knight e4 is possible, or even knight d5 is possible. Queen h4, knight c3 is possible, or knight b5 immediately is possible. Knight c3 is main theory after bishop b4, knight b5, something like this. Or bishop e2 firstly, and after queen takes e4, now knight b5, something like this, I remember. According to theory, it's very promising for white. Well, so knight f6, takes, queen e7, queen e2, knight d5. Now main move is, yes, bishop b4, c3, bishop c5 is possible. Or bishop e7, also possible, after c3. Giovanni Vescovi played against me bishop e7. I played this. He played d6. I took, played queen b3, knight f6. I took here, played e5, but e5 is not the best, and after knight d7, black has very strong contraplay. Because if e takes d6, knight c5 is coming. This is very important intermezzo. But instead of e5, e5 is not the best. It's dubious move. Instead of e5, better to play bishop c4, knight takes e4, knight d2, and objectively position is slightly better for white, which Yevgeny Nair demonstrated in one of his games. Okay, so queen e7, queen e2, knight d5, knight d2. Main move is c4 now. After c4, black has choice, bishop a6 on knight b6, both possible. Knight d2 also playable move now. Yeah, h4, yes, h4 is possible as well. Agree. So knight d2, now black has many moves. queen e6 is main move. But Naumann played something strange, knight f4. Nair against Firouzja. Probably I have seen this game, but I don't remember. So queen e6 is normal move, I remember. I remember that g6 c4. There is some theory. After bishop a6, something like knight f3. What is the difference between 8 f6 and 10 f6? So now f6. I think if now f6, white can play c4. But c4, knight f4 is possible. Sorry. c4, knight f4 is possible. But now, let me think. Knight b4 is possible as well, but knight f4. Knight b4, it's possible to play something like what Magnus did, this, and then a3 b4. But knight f4 looks like a good idea for black, and then take with pawn or with queen. E takes f6 is possible, but not so convincing, at least. Black has several possibilities. For example, they can play this, this. White should take with king, because this is bad. So this. Complicated endgame. Also, probably black can take here. If knight takes e2, f takes g7 is possible. Also, even there, probably black has compensation. I mean, this, now something like this. Bishop f5 is coming. Probably even here is compensation. So f6 is a reasonable move. But if c4, I would prefer knight f4. Yes, knight g2 is possible. Yes, of course, knight g2 is possible. Yes, knight g2 and then come back to f4. It's totally logical idea. Probably black is fine. So f take g7 and rook g1. Maybe just castle. Who knows? But well, it was question about f6 immediately. Probably white can just play knight f3. This looks like logical or not. Or queen b4 now. So if bishop d2, queen takes b2, e takes f6, bishop e7. So probably queen b4 is possible. Because c3, knight takes c3. If this, even bishop e7 is possible. And it looks like good for black somehow. I'm trying to understand same why Naumann wanted to provoke. What's idea of bishop e7? Okay, but probably king d8 is possible as well. Totally possible. Maybe king d8 is also possible. Rook c1. I want to prepare c4. If g takes f6, c4 probably. White has compensation. Probably not. Bishop b4 is coming. And queen takes c1 is threat. Okay, so f6, I don't know what is theory of f6. But maybe now I understand. So if image same position, so after e5, knight d5, so this f6. After e takes f6, black can take with knight, and now queen is attacked. So white needs to do something. Take on e7. It means to develop black uh, to help black develop their pieces. But if queen is on e2, probably after f6, now white can take, and after knight f6, now white can do something else. So it's not necessary to take on e7. Probably just white can play b3. Maybe this is logical move. Knight g8 back. So what? Well, yes, queen takes e2 is possible, of course, but it's question how strong it is. No, for example, I simply play bishop b4. I see that if bishop b2, knight e4 is coming, this is problem for white, but I can do something else. For example, just castle, bishop c3, rook b1, castle, rook d1 to prepare bishop b2. Okay, I'm not sure that white has advantage here. Okay, maybe not b3, maybe something else. Maybe take with queen, with king, but bishop c5, castle, rook e8. What else? Maybe just knight b3 is possible. Or knight f3, yes, knight f3, yes. But maybe knight b3. So something like this. If a5, I have a4, and this idea bishop d2, probably this. So this is my explication. Uh, uh, explanation. I want to explain that if queen is on e2, white doesn't need to do something with queen. So knight b3 is probably. Maybe knight c4 is also possible. Yes, maybe knight c4. So white has choice, some freedom. Okay, but black has a problem with his bishop on f8 as well. With d5, even knight e5 is possible. Or knight a5 even possible. So, okay, but let's come back. For sure, there are some games after f6 as well. And I think Magnus was prepared against f6 and against other moves like queen e6. But no one played knight f4, so probably after queen e4 he prepared to play knight e6. And I don't know what is this, but later black can consider g6, bishop g7, or bishop b7 and long castle, I don't know. Okay, but queen e3, knight d5 back. So knight e6 is possible, but now after knight f6, white knight has e4 square somewhere. It can be important. Bishop d3 looks like normal move. So for example, if image that here bishop d3, black has idea knight c5 to exchange bishop. If queen on e3, bishop d3 probably more reasonable. So he played knight d5. Of course, Magnus doesn't want draw, so queen e4 and f6. Now, so he wants to take pawn. And now, if take knight takes f6, white has obligation to take, because other moves are not logical. So takes, and black is ready to castle. So white has no development advantage. Structure, pawn structure is a little bit better, but okay. Black has good chances to equalize the game after castle. Knight b3 castle. Bishop c4 instead of taking on f6. Bishop c4 is possible, but okay. Black is taking the pawn, and okay, white has some compensation, but black has no weakness at least. So c4 played Magnus, very principal move. Knight b4 is looks like forced, because if not play knight b4, if knight b6, white can just take. It's obvious advantage. So knight b4, but when he played c4, he should consider knight b4, because now a3 doesn't work. Not because f5, after f5 can be acceptable for white, because queen b1, queen takes e5, king d1, or even not king d1, maybe even bishop e2, after knight a6, b4, and then bishop b4. b2 is coming, white has splendid position, but unfortunately for white, d5 is very strong. And white is in big trouble, because if takes, black can check and then take on e4, take on e1. If queen b5 1, now queen takes e5 check, and bishop f5 is coming. And also important that after c takes d5, just c takes d5, and white cannot take here, because queen takes e5 with check, and white is losing his queen. So, but Magnus calculate this. Okay, it's not difficult for his level, such a variation, especially with classical time control, but even in blitz it would be not difficult. So king d1, very smart move. He is playing against black knight, and now black has choice how to take. But anyway, white is prepared to play a3 and b4, and black will have problem with three pieces, with rook on a8, with bishop on c8, and obviously with knight on a6. So looks like very good idea. And also important, he took with queen. If take with pawn, a3, d5 is important to calculate, because if c takes d5, knight takes d5, probably situation is not so clear. White can try to play knight c4 and then take on e5, but king is in the center somehow. But maybe after d5, Magnus planned just play this tricky move. And now if knight a6, now he wants to take on d5. e4 looks tempting, but queen c3 is coming, and this is unpleasant for black, because after knight a6, white can just take, and queen c6 is hanging. Knight d3 doesn't work as well, because white is taking and rook e1 is coming. And after bishop e6, c takes d5 and queen c6, and black is losing. So I think this was idea of Magnus to play queen f3 here. C takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop b5. Let's check. Maybe also possible, but okay. Let me think. What is this? So bishop b5. Black has choice. So queen e6 is possible. Queen d6 is possible. Maybe queen d6 is even possible. Unclear position. Bishop a4, bishop e7 somehow. bishop d7 also possible. Okay, probably, but in my opinion, queen f3 is stronger for white. So if this is good, what is the reason to consider other moves? And tactical ideas doesn't. H5 black can try, of course, but okay, h3. Bishop g4 doesn't work because I can just take here. Black can try same from other. Now AB. But again, c takes d5. Black cannot take with knight because queen c6, and cannot take with pawn because queen c6 check again. Okay, knight a6 is possible, but as I explained it, before is coming, and black has big problem with their pieces. White has clear plan, bishop b2, bishop d3, rook e1, king c2, something like this. So queen took on e5, a3. Of course, was possible also take on e5, and now play same plan. Also, white has very promising compensation for the pawn, but at least black can play c5, b5, knight b8, and then d6, bishop b7, knight b7 to prepare something like this. So a3, logical choice. Queen takes a4, but now why queen takes a4? It's a big question for me. So psychologically, black should play knight a6 here, in my opinion, because if Magnus didn't take on e5 immediately and played a3 before, so after a3, knight a6, no reason to afraid take. But probably Magnus planned to play before anyway. Black cannot take rook because there is a pin. But well, black can take on e4 whenever they want. So now they have more possibilities. Okay, c5 looks like logical idea. Ah, sorry, c5 not possible because there is no pin. So after c5, white can just take rook d5. D5 is possible, but white has very good compensation. Ah, white has at least this idea. Takes, if takes, bishop b5 is coming, and then bishop c6, or even after takes. Bishop b5 check, and then bishop c6 is coming, then white will take on d5 is obviously much better position. So it's question if black has any benefit after b4. But okay, anyway, queen takes e4 looks like some concession for me. Maybe bishop e7, there is reason to consider now. White rook is under attack, so probably black has better chances to consolidate his forces, although for sure white has splendid compensation for the pawns. I can consider this, for example, this, bishop d3, and then king c2, f4 somewhere is possible as well. So, but anyway, queen takes e4 is the move which I don't like, so I will put, so now it's more easy for b5, bishop d3, very natural, rook e1, king f7. So what we see, so black has pawn up, okay, and if image that d6, king d7, d6, knight d7, knight e5, black can consolidate, but of course it requires some time, and Magnus tries not allow such a pleasure to his opponent. So knight c3. Very reasonable idea, as I understand. So bishop takes g2. He's not worried about this because black has big problem with development. For example, if bishop g4, bishop g2, bishop f4 is possible to attack the pawn. If d6, bishop f5 is important move. Not allow knight d7, and still a6 looks good. Okay, looks good, but a6, there is no threats. a6 now, bishop e6. Okay, now a6, yes, it's logical decision. But after a6, white will have idea to play this, and after takes, even knight can take on b5. But probably it was, or maybe just pawn will take. If d5, bishop f5 is unpleasant, so white has much more active pieces. If immediately d6, again bishop f5 surely was prepared with idea. Bishop e6 check and not allow knight d7. So knight c3 move I really like. Okay, it's not so difficult move. It's active, and this is prophylactic move against knight d7. Bishop d6 he played. Now future of knight on b8 under the big question. So f4 simply. Another prophylactic move. So white just not allow bishop e5. So g2 pawn is not important for him. Opponent took on g2. Probably a6 was the better chance, but anyway situation. He took on g2, but okay, so black has no good pieces. So rook a8 and knight b8 not playing. Bishop d6, strange position because he block d7 pawn and development of knight. Bishop on g2 in hanging position. White has many good pieces. So king c2 simply. Okay, it's easy to explain, but psychologically it's not so easy to play two pawns down. But okay, explain it's more easy. That white has coordinated pieces, and g6 played. Okay, maybe bad move, but okay, he shows courage, yes, but also a deep understanding of position, which is not less important than courage. So g6 played. What was idea of g6? I don't know. But which alternative to advise? I don't know. a6 is possible, but white can just ignore it. For example, to play bishop d2 after takes, bishop c4 is coming. So still black has big problem. So after g6, Magnus decided to give a third pawn already. But he sees weakness on f6 and wants to realize it. Of course, bishop d2 was natural and possible, but he's playing in more concrete style. Rook e2. So white is 3 pawns down already, but direct attack is started. So bishop b7 to do rook f1. So black has serious problem with f6 and g5. Only move looks like. Bishop g5, knight e4 is coming, and bad news for black. Takes, white can take even with rook to prepare h4. I don't see any idea how black can defend. f5 not possible because rook is hanging. So g5 only move, just h4. White wants to break the position. After h6, h5 is possible, and bishop g6 is coming, which is extremely unpleasant for black. So d6 he played. He just took bishop e5. Bishop g5, knight e4, very strong. Black should take, there is no choice. But this position, rook e7, white should win. We are analyzing game between Carlsen and Naumann. Very impressive victory of world champion. Bishop e5, now white has only 2 pawns down, but knight e4, so black losing everything. Knight d7, too late. If you see this position, difficult to imagine that this knight was from g8, came to d5, b4, a6, and b8. Sorry, Kamsky Torturer. What is this? Strange question, I don't know. Comes because of night. Yes, in martial attack. Yes, yes, I won such a game against Gata because he missed a possibility to play f4 and knight f3. Yes, from Linares 91. Yes, I won this game. Okay, so after knight e4, game is over. Black cannot just defend. So knight d7, it's too late. Okay, so bravo, Magnus. Excellent game. There is game. Why does white sacrifice his black bishop? White sacrifice bishop? Okay, d takes, it's not sacrifice. Rook takes f6 is coming and black is losing c5 pawn. So white has material advantage and attack, so everything. And from round 3, Magnus played with white against strong grandmaster, Indian grandmaster, Pentala Hari Krishna. e5, g3, c6 played Hari Krishna. Played. Black has choice. Knight c6, bishop g2, g6, very solid line. g6 is possible as well, or d6 firstly after bishop g2, g6, if d4, knight d7. So it's even more flexible because sometimes black can play without knight c6. If white is playing something like this, black can play f5, knight f6, castle, and then decide what to do with knight. Probably knight c6, probably knight bd7, probably a5, knight a6. So there is more flexibility for black than if black has already knight on c6. But okay, c6 played Pentala, d4, bishop b4 check. Another theoretical line is e4. Boris Gelfand played against me. Idea is if knight c3, black is ready to play this. Queen takes d5, takes, knight takes d4, and according to theory, this position is good for black. Not okay, so bishop b2. So this is theory as well. Knight c3, knight f6. Main theoretical line here is bishop g2. I played against Emil Sutovsky with white. After castle, I played e3 with idea to prepare knight g2. But Magnus played e4. Okay, also a reasonable move. Instead of white move e3. I wanted to have my bishop open it on g2, but okay, Magnus has a different plan, which is also possible. So he wants probably to play f3 and play in style of Zamish system. Castle, Hare Krishna, natural, knight g2. b5. Okay, so b5 is very concrete, risky moves. I don't know if it was really necessary for black. In my opinion, very logical to play knight bd7. If bishop g2 now play a6 to prepare b5. If a4, of course, black can play a5 and then take on d4 and play knight c5 with comfortable position. Because knight on c5 will be strong after a4. Okay, but I'm not sure that Magnus planned to play bishop g2. Totally possible to play f3, for example, here in style of Zamish system. For example, if a6, white can consider this. If b5, c5 is coming. I don't know how strong it is, however, but at least it looks like logical and deserve serious attention. Okay, black can play something like rook e8 without immediately b5. So, but Hare Krishna decided to play immediately b5. I don't know, risky choice because takes a3 simple. So black should demonstrate something because if white will consolidate position, pawn b5 can be pseudo-active. a5. Okay. Yes, I played some rapid online. Okay, I really enjoy it to play, but some games I just play bad and I cannot be enjoyed with them. But anyway, thanks a lot for organizers who invited me to play. So if sometimes I'm playing bad, it's my own problem. Hello to neighbor Santa Evelina. Okay, hello. Hola. Es española. So a5, another risky move. So more natural to have a pawn on a6. For example, knight bd7 looks like normal move. At the moment, white cannot play on, take on b5 because e4 is hanging. So we could imagine f3 or bishop g2. But okay, if f3, a6, and then bishop b7, rook c8 will be planned for black. Knight b6 somewhere to provoke b3. If bishop g2, okay, anyway, a6 looks like reasonable castle. Bishop b7, then rook c8 is coming. This is more classical than a5. Probably black is slightly worse, but nothing special in my opinion. But a5 played Hare Krishna, so probably he was in aggressive mood, but is it good according to position? It's a big question because now or later black should decide problem how to defend this pawn. Okay, so bishop g2, very natural. White is now pawn is attacking. If, for example, play bishop a6, b4 looks like unpleasant. And black has problem with his bishop. Okay, black has, however, knight b7, then knight b6, knight c4 is coming. Probably it's not so obvious. So maybe knight bishop a6 was possible, like alternative here. If castle, black can just consider knight b7. I am not sure about b4 because white can take and knight a2. I'm not sure. Also possible to consider knight c6 with idea if d5, knight a5. Now black has some tactical threats. If b4, knight d7, and then knight b6, knight c4, black has some contraplay. So okay, but here probably knight d5 is stronger, however. But also, who knows, knight c6 maybe it's possible. Very concrete play. Positionally white is good, but tactically I'm not so sure about this. For example, if this bishop takes e2, if this, rook takes c6. Okay, so funny. Probably white is better, but such variation require good calculation. So bishop a6 was alternative. If castle b4 or just knight b7, also possible to prepare b4, knight b6. So looks like playable position, but it's quite complicated. b3, okay, b3, b4. But Pentala played bishop b7, castle. Now pawn is not protected. Now white can consider possibility of taking this pawn. For example, if knight b7, now white can consider this. If this, just take and take on d6. Probably black has compensation, but it's far from obvious. For example, this, rook d1, and black has problem with his d4 pawn. Okay, so d4 like Pentala, but takes. Of course, rook takes a8, b takes c3. Probably it's good for black. Yes, looks like good for black because this white has tactical problems. e4 is hanging, bishop a6 is coming. So, but knight d5. Knight takes d5, e takes d5. And same as against Naumann, black has some problem with knight on b8. And with b4 pawn, queen b6 looks like natural. Takes, g4, great styles. Knight g3, knight f5 is coming. It looks like same plan is popular in neither variation, I mean. Here, so e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4 takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6, g3, e5, knight e2, and later white is quite often play bishop g2 and h3, g4. If white starts with h3, e5, knight e2, usually black playing immediately h5, not allows g4 without losing tempo for g3. Of Scandinavian, it's playable opening, but of course necessary good preparation, needs to good preparation of player who plays this with black, especially if he's doing this regularly and opponent has possibility to prepare. But it's playable, yes. Tivakov is great expert. Also, Matthias Schwals is great expert, and other strong players. Papa Ioannou, yes. Well, but so let's come back. So it was c4, first move. Sorry. So knight takes d5, of course not, rook takes a8. So f5, yes, it's risky. White will take on f5 and play knight g3. Looks like white pieces are coordinated much better than black ones. Yes, pre-year. Also Christian Bauer is big expert. Even he wrote excellent book about Scandinavian defense. Yes, I even showed some lines. Bishop g4. I remember it was game Shulskis was played with white. After f3, bishop f5, he played something. Unfortunately, I don't remember exactly, but I remember that I showed this line in one of my previous videos. So g3, very logical move. The problem for black has knight d7. Maybe if imagine that I'm black, I would consider rook d8 probably. With idea if knight g3 to play knight c6. But anyway, I'm not sure that black is fine here. For example, knight f5, knight d4. Rook d1. Rook d1 is possible, but sometimes rook can be good on f line as well. And after knight c6, probably you want just to take. Is it it? It's possible idea. Probably this is dangerous idea for black because they can not prevent c7. Bishop takes c6 is impossible at the moment, and c7 is coming, and bishop takes a8. White has excellent winning chances in this position. But okay, after rook d1, okay, now probably I will play knight d7. Try to prepare knight f6, but knight g3 is interesting. Knight c6, knight f5. If knight d4, knight takes d4. So this is interesting position. Because if e takes d4, rook d1 is coming, and it looks like white is just winning d4 pawn. Black cannot defend this because they cannot take on d5. Same reason if queen takes d4, white can simply take and rook d1. And also important, bishop takes d5 doesn't work because knight f5 is coming. After bishop takes g2, queen g5 is coming. And maybe black is just losing. So g6 is only move. King takes g2 and f6 is only move. If queen is 3, queen c6 check, but white can play this, king g7 and queen c1. And white is piece up and has idea h4 g5 somehow. Maybe black has contraplay, however, after rook d4, but it's very far from obvious. My idea to play rook f4, also after g5. Who knows? Well, at the moment I need 10 minutes break, so I will come back soon. So I'm here again and we will continue. Okay, so rook d8 was alternative, but as we can see, it's not way to solve all of this problem. So this difficult situation already for black. But firstly, I want to check if everything is good with voice and video. Please confirm it. I don't want to speak to emptiness. Good. So knight d7 played Hare Krishna. Okay, probably rook d8 was more precise, but it's not obvious. Knight g3, g6. Logical. Black doesn't want to allow knight f5. Probably black has another ideas, but if knight f6, g5 is coming, if knight d5, bishop d5, and probably black cannot take the piece back. Knight f5 and I'm not sure that black has way to survive. For example, this, king h8, rook d1, or knight takes d5 immediately, queen e6, rook d1, queen g4 check, king f1. So there is no perpetual check and white is piece up. Okay, about my future there is question. What can I say? I'm planning to play soon, at least in Team World Championship in Jerusalem. So you will see how I will play. I will try to show my bests, and I am planning to come back to active practice as soon as possible. But okay, I suppose in the first time will be not so easy for me. But okay, I'm still not losing my optimism. So this tactical idea doesn't work because after knight f5, black cannot take his piece back and they are losing. So g6, rook c1. Now black has also problem with his bishop on a8, which is out of play because black cannot attack pawn d5 successfully. For example, if here knight f6, g5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, rook d8, now knight e4, another problem, and knight f6 is coming. For example, if this, knight f6 check, after this, rook c8. Oh, okay, of course, g takes f6 is possible as well. Rook c8 mate. So rook d8 played Hare Krishna, knight e4, knight f6. He managed to exchange knights, but still situation is not easy because white pawn d5 is strong, bishop on a8 is out of play somehow, and also there is problem with bishop on b4, but okay. Also tactically, for example, if queen e7, white can take and black cannot take back because after rook c8 they are losing the queen. So queen b6 played Pentala. He wants just protect his pawn. If, for example, queen f4, white can just take and rook b5. This idea to take on b4 and after bishop takes d5 to play rook d4. Also looks like unpleasant for black. However, probably black could try create some contraplay. Bishop b7 and bishop c8, but it's question how realistic this, even after simple h3. White has healthy pawn up and d5 pawn is strong. So queen b6, he played queen b3. Smart move, because in some variation white also has idea rook c8. For example, bishop b7, rook c8, it's very unpleasant. Queen d6 only move. White can just take and take on e5, and this is a winning position. Is it everything okay with my stream? With voice, with video? If chat is passive, I'm always worried about. So queen a7 played. Pentala, now after rook c8, he has check from a1. But queen c1. And rook c7 is coming. In some variation, black has problem with pawn on f7. So bishop b7, h4. Good idea. h4, h5, h6 is coming. And black will have problem with king. So this game, Magnus playing in style of Alexander Alechin. h6, okay. For black is extremely dangerous to allow h6. After h5, h6 from white, white will have many mating motifs, so h6, but queen e3, white came back to this idea. Queen d6, this queen takes h6. Great. Bishop takes d5. So if takes, bishop e4 looks like extremely unpleasant. And now what to do? After bishop takes d5, okay, white can just, this is the simplest way. Take and take on d5. This endgame should be winning for white. Not sure if this is winning without b2 and b4 pawns after king e7. Probably this is draw, but with these pawns it should be winning. Okay, probably black has some chances. f5, e4 is coming. But also white can play in different way. For example, after bishop takes d5, totally possible, just play queen d2 and then to take bishop without exchange of queens. Probably this is even more technical way to win in this position. So black cannot do it. And f5 doesn't help because, okay, queen g6 looks like. Yes, I am streaming already from November last year. I am streaming. I did already many streams. So if you want, please follow them. I am doing my streams quite regularly. So Pentala didn't take on g4. Okay, it's understandable decision. So he took here, but okay, after queen d2. And he took with queen. I would take with bishop. Okay, it's choice of world champion. But now it's important that king on g8, not on f8, and black cannot play this because bishop e4 and bishop f5 is coming. So king g7 only move, king g2. King h4, very nice. White not allows king g5, and Zugzwang will be soon. For example, this, bishop c6, bishop d7, something like this. Quite standard, quite easy. E4, white is totally winning. Black will lost his pawns soon. Any tactics doesn't work. For example, this, just bishop b4. Pawns are stopped. Without, I can repeat, without b4 and b2 pawn, f4 it's draw. But not now, because now white is easy win. Because this pawn b2 and b4. Well, so e4 he played, bishop king g3. Okay, king g5 is possible as well. But he played king g3 also. b3 and black resigned. So last trap was king takes g4 was mistake, because after b3 was draw. White cannot prevent king d2, king c1. For example, this. But immediately b3. Why not immediately b3, I'm thinking. What are the moves? Bishop against pawn? Okay, calculate variations. Was very concrete and utilize motifs of Zugzwang. So after b3, how to play? White cannot take on g4. So here, after b3, he resigned. This is understandable, because now bishop a4 or bishop d5. Yes, and if g3, king g4, king f2, king h3. Of course, this is king f4 is also winning, because after g4, white can just take and king e4. And this endgame is totally winning white. So, but why Hari Krishna didn't play b3 immediately? He could try this. Okay, I believe he is losing here, but how? How white should win this? If king f4, I want to play g3. King f4, g3. e4, g3. E4 simply winning. Because if king c2, I can just take and play e5. Bishop e4 is coming. So, if g3, e5. Same idea. Now if king c2, king f4. Yes. Finita la commedia. Bishop will go to e4. Okay, so it's quite late in Ukraine. Magnus played already 5 games, but I will not consider another games for today. For next report, I will do it, because I also want to enjoy how good play Magnus and understand how to do it for myself. But for today, okay, I am more or less finished. If there are any... it was question about Scandinavian, so I need to remember how it was Shulski's. So e4, d5, e takes d5, knight. Oh, it was bishop c4 line. Bishop b5 line. On this line. Just a minute. I'm trying to remember how Šarūnas Šulskis played. So I remember queen a4 were something, but c4, e6, queen a4. I remember that he played somewhere queen a4 check, but where? Oh, my memory. Okay, maybe encyclopedia can help me. Just a moment. I will take this book. Because probably I took game of Šarūnas from encyclopedia. So e4, d5, d4. No, 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 not from here. Okay, but anyway, we can see what suggests encyclopedia. Okay, of course, d4 is not only move. White has knight f3. It's possible to play. White can play bishop b5 check as well, but okay, d4, bishop g4. F3, of course. Instead of f3, bishop e2, also knight f3 even possible. So white has alternatives, but okay, f3, bishop f5, bishop b5. What alternatives we have? c4, e6, d takes e6, knight c6. According to encyclopedia, this is fine for black. Okay, so if bishop b5 check, knight bd7, c4, a6 they propose. Also, I remember theory instead of a6 there is e6. Yes, e6, d takes e6, bishop takes e6. And now d5, consider encyclopedia as main move, but according to my knowledge, c5 is possible for white, and probably white has good position. If c6, probably bishop d3 or even bishop a4. I'm not sure. Point of c5 very simple. Block black bishop, not allow bishop b4, and defend against c6. For example, if immediately knight e2, black has c6. And if bishop a4, just takes the pawn. So c5, and now after c6, white has choice. Bishop d3 or bishop bishop d3 or bishop a4. Доброї ночі. Мирного вам неба. Maybe even this is more reasonable, but I'm not sure where bishop is better. Yes, black has d5 square, but white has extra pawn. Okay, if knight d5, I can play knight c3. Okay. We are playing, or knight e2 also possible. So c5 is, but encyclopedia gives d5, bishop f5, knight c3. Thanks for subscription. Sorry. Bishop c5, logical. Queen e2 check. I would consider also g4 probably. No, maybe. But queen e2, they are considering queen e7. After g4, bishop d3. This black took with bishop. Maybe with king is possible to take as well. At least looks logical to prepare 95, sorry. But Gallego took with bishop, bishop f4. So it's game René Gallego. But okay, many questions. Firstly, probably better. Yes. So after e6, according to my knowledge, c5 is a good option for white. But who knows? I'm not sure if black has enough compensation here. Okay, for example, if c6, bishop a4. If queen castle, now knight takes c5 as threat, but white has time for bishop f4. And after queen a5, bishop d2. And knight takes c5, idea is stop it. And after queen c7 or queen a6, white can just develop pieces, knight c3. So white has pawn up and strong position in the center. Okay, if black has anything else, okay, knight d5 is possible, but knight c3. g6, okay, but knight c3, knight g2, castle. So it's a big question if black has enough compensation for the pawn here. So probably this, but also encyclopedia consider to play a6 here, even as main move. Bishop takes d7. If bishop a4, I suppose b5 is idea, and knight b6, something like this. Or knight takes d5, probably. With idea knight b4, who knows. Okay, but encyclopedia doesn't consider bishop a4, so it's also possible. So bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, knight e2. So consider it. Okay, logical move. e6, d takes e6, queen takes e6, b3. So who played this? Lanka or sharp play. According to encyclopedia, white is slightly better. Okay, white is pawn up and compensation is not obvious. Okay, more or less I can agree with this. So probably this is good idea to play this with white, but I'm curious what was in game of Sharunas. Okay, I will check. In my mega database, I will make search e4, d5, e takes d5, knight f6, Sharunas Shulskis. I will find his game with white. So it's shame for me that I showed this in one of my previous videos. I should remember this, but I don't, unfortunately. Okay, but anyway, after d4, in my opinion, knight takes d5 is the best move, and now white has choice to play c4 or to play knight f3. So knight f3, I remember, g6 is theoretical line. If c4, knight b6, knight c3, bishop g7, h3 castle, bishop e3. Sound is low. Okay, I will be more close. So what I remember, so this, I remember that e4 is main line. With idea, if knight takes e4, f5. This I remember. So knight takes e4, f5. This is idea of contraplay for black. And now Many things in encyclopedias. So 42. F5, knight c5, f takes g4, knight g5, knight f5, knight g e6, bishop takes e6, knight takes e6, queen f6. Very sharp. And okay, Dautov played with black. This position also was game Tseshkovsky against Smagin. Okay, we can consider Tseshkovsky against Smagin. So Tseshkovsky took on g4. Smagin took on e3. Yes, Smagin also was expert. He is expert of Scandinavian defense, especially with knight f6. Queen f3, rook g1, and now black has choice between. Smagin played knight a4 in the game, but also rook a e8 is interesting. So there is proposition to play rook a e8, queen e2, queen e4, and if castle, knight takes c4. This is recommendation of Smagin. If queen takes c4, queen takes c3 check, and queen takes g1. This idea. Maybe this is not finish, of course. This d6 is coming. White also has some threats. For example, if take, white can take and play bishop e2, and rook f1 is coming. So it's not end of variation. Probably black is even just losing here. Because rook f1 and then rook f7 is coming. Okay, after d6, probably c takes d6, not only move. Probably black has b5. It's totally possible. But still unclear. After b5, for example, simply queen b3. If rook f1, knight g5 is coming. And king f8 not possible because mate. So king h8 only move, knight f7. And after b5, knight takes f8. Knight takes f8 strong. Yes, yes. And b takes c4, bishop takes c4. And if c takes d6, rook f1 and rook f7. So, okay, so let's see carefully. Maybe now b5, queen takes c7. Bishop e5, however. Maybe now b5 is... if queen c5, rook takes... Maybe now b5 can be considered. Okay, but this is very, very viral position. Okay, so this is recommendation of Smagin, but in the game he played knight a4. So this is game Tseshkovsky-Smagin. Knight takes g7, took Tseshkovsky. King takes, queen d4, bishop e2, check, king d2, c5. So white cannot take because rook d8 is coming. It's quite obvious. So after c5, Tseshkovsky played queen e5, rook e8, queen g3, queen f6. b1. Knight takes b2. Rook f1. Queen g7. Rook f8, rook f8. Okay, I'm not sure that everything of this is forcing, but rook f1 he played. Knight takes c4, check. Bishop takes c4, queen b2, check. And this is perpetual check, according to encyclopedia. Okay, so what else is possible? So instead of knight takes e4, there are some moves. Just a moment. I need to check. 42. Instead of knight takes e4, also there is knight d4. Hello. Knight d4, but f5 with complicated game. G takes f5, knight takes f5. Or also knight g5. Knight g5, also f5. If castle h6. Knight e6, takes, takes, takes. Rook takes, rook fd8. Another complicated game, endgame. So knight takes a4, f5. Knight c5, f takes g4. So this is a main line, which is given encyclopedia, at least. Knight g5, knight f5. Knight e6, takes, takes, queen f6. So knight take f8 possible, but after rook takes f8, black has very good compensation. So again, this, queen f3. Boring? Well, maybe this is boring for you. G1. For me, it looks like quite interesting. I'm thinking, trying to understand what is going on. Okay, so knight e4. For example, sorry, bishop h6, where bishop h6? In which moment bishop h6? For example, for somebody it can be boring, but for me, it's not obvious why to take on g7. Why not play immediately rook b1? Because probably my knight is stronger than black rook. When bishop was on e3, so bishop on e3, yes. So what you want to do now? Knight e3 looks like only logical move. F takes e3. And after knight a4, okay, why not rook b1 immediately? bishop h6 here. Bishop h6 is very strange because I can just play bishop g2. Or maybe queen e5. No, queen e5, rook h6. Queen e5 doesn't work because I will just take if check. King. I will just take if check, king d1, and if rook f2, queen d4 is coming with mating threat. Yes, there is check, but what now? Black is still piece down, and I don't see. White bishop from e3 to a6, where? Here bishop h6. No, it's hardly possible. No, bishop h6, black will just takes. Okay, so but after knight a4, why not rook b1 immediately? I have a question. Ah, so now rook b1. Take on b2 because if he is taking, bishop I will take, or maybe he can do this. I should play king d1 only move because if bishop e2 you are taking with check. So rook f1, queen d3, there is no perpetual check. So rook f7 looks like only move for black. But I have queen d4 now, and this endgame looks like clearly better for white. If it's endgame, okay, black can try queen a3, but who knows? Black can do this. And then try to take the pawn, but white has very strong knight on e6, but yes, still unclear position. But okay, for example, bishop d3, queen takes a2, rook h1 to prepare bishop takes g6 somehow. Important that f8 square under control. But black has queen g2. Queen g2, rook h6 probably. Okay, very wild position, but interesting one. So this is theory. Of course, white has many other systems, so white can play without without c4 at all. So, for example, white can play bishop e2, bishop g7, castle, castle, rook e1 is also possible. Rook f1, rook f8, queen c5, in which moment? Bishop e5 is proposition. Okay, let's see. Let's consider this. Rook a8, queen. Sorry. Knight a4. Rook b1, bishop e5. What is wrong? Okay, probably nothing wrong, but yes, bishop e5 is good move, I think. Because if queen e2, you have queen e4. Bishop e5, maybe it's the best. Simply. But same question, what was wrong with bishop e5 immediately in that case? Queen e2 looks like only move for white. And now if queen e4, knight g5, suddenly, yes, yes, yes. Important to have now knight g5 is possible. Okay, black is on knight c5, because after knight g5, black has this trick, and at least they will have piece back. But knight c5 is strong. Black is losing. Queen suddenly is trapped. So it was important to provoke rook to b1 and then to have queen e4. Yes, so this. So because of this, okay, rook a8 is another idea. So after knight a4, so knight takes g7 is forced because, yes, because here bishop e5, and if queen e2, queen e4. But okay, well, still, what is this? If queen d3, it's not finished. Because endgame with knight on a6, I think white will be better. So queen f3 only. Rook takes f1, sorry. Wow. Rook takes f1 is winning. Yes, yes, so bishop bishop e5, yes, 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 bishop e5 is really strong. And yes, things are bad for white suddenly. Oh, queen e2 only move, queen e4, so white should play with rook somewhere, and black will take on b2. If rook c1, black will take with bishop. If rook d1, black can take with knight. And there is bishop c3 threat. White has no time to attack black queen. So Sashkovsky took correctly on g7. And bishop e2, queen f2 check. So here bishop e2 impossible, queen f2 check, and then black will take rook with check. Yes, so rook b1 is bad move. Thank you, you refuted my idea. So Sashkovsky played stronger than me. So knight g7, king g7, this. So, sorry, not d takes c6, queen e5, and it was draw. Okay, but let's follow Smagin recommendation again. So queen f3. Okay, but let's come back. So e4, this idea. Knight d4, f5. Okay, but still there are many questions. f4 is threat. So, for example, here f4 is possible. Black is winning the piece, although probably even here white has some compensation. c5 is coming, and then bishop c4. Probably black should take piece back. Takes. Queen d5 takes, and bishop e6. But okay, so it's not necessary to give a piece. Okay, g takes f5, knight takes f5. Given encyclopedia, probably also possible some other moves like bishop g5 or bishop h6 even. Maybe even this is possible. Very complicated position, by the way. Black can take and even c5 to play. If c6, my idea was just play castle and c5. And black has no moves. Knight d7, knight e6 immediately losing. So if this takes, and knight e6 looks like much better for white in this position. So bishop h6 is possible also. But okay, g takes f5, consider encyclopedia. Knight takes f5, knight takes f5, bishop f5, castle, knight d7. h4. There consider at least. Knight e5, h5, knight f3, queen c2, knight f5 after castle. So after castle, what you want to play? After castle, white just made castle. Now, what you want to play? Knight d7 is given. It's a logical move to transfer knight to e5, central square, and then to d3. So very logical move. Maybe not only, but very logical one. So h4, knight e5, h5, knight f3. Maybe also knight d3 is possible, by the way. Maybe also possible. Of course, king b1 is possible to consider. So, very complicated position. But black has idea something like this. If this, if rook h1, knight takes f2 is coming. Okay, so knight d3 is also possible. They consider knight f3, queen c2, g5. Knight takes e4, queen e7. Bishop d3, knight d4. Black has compensation according to encyclopedia. Totally possible. Queen g4, bishop g4, in which moment bishop g4? Okay, but from g takes f5, it's already not forcing, so white can play bishop h6, white can play probably bishop g5 as well. Okay, so instead of knight d7, what is your proposition? Bishop, maybe instead of knight e5, bishop g4. Yes. Also, this is possible. But, okay, bishop e2. You can take on c3, but it's very far from clear in my opinion. For example, if takes, takes, if takes, takes. If knight e5, bishop d4 is coming. If, for example, knight d3, I can take, and queen e5 looks like extremely unpleasant for black, probably just losing. Okay, maybe black can play something else. For example, queen f6, bishop d4, queen f3. But okay, white bishop is very strong. Or queen f4 check, maybe more precise. Yes, bishop g4 is also possible. So you see, this line is very complicated. But y e4, Why not immediately f5, for example? I will check if they are. This is very natural move, but what they recommend. F5 they consider. F5 just castle. They consider. Okay, but now they're considering f takes g4, but now also e4 is possible. I don't know why they are not considering e4 such a natural move. Yes, but after f5, white can also take, probably. If now e4, even f6 is possible. Knight takes f5, bishop g5. Okay, queen e8. Complicated position. So f5 maybe it's a reasonable alternative. And after castle, e4, same variation. h4 direct in which moment h4? After f5 h4? No, hardly possible. So f5 is also possible move. Looks like. Because after castle, strangely enough, encyclopedia consider only this. Knight g5 and now g3 is possible, but black can play e4 and go to the same variation. Knight g5 a6. Okay, so very interesting position. But for me, it's time to relax, time to sleep. Thanks a lot for your attention. So bishop h6, there is proposition where bishop h6? After e4 or after f5? So now black has two moves, e4 or f5. Probably you want bishop h6 here. Understand. Bishop h6 here. And now if, for example, this, check, and it's dangerous for black somehow. Also, okay, that's chief check king e8. Maybe black is not losing, but it's really dangerous. So bishop h6 is possible. Well, bishop h6, interesting question, I agree. But what black should play? If queen d6, white can just take on g7 and so probably this is the reason why f5 is more, why e4 is more precise than f5, because bishop h6. Yes, I like bishop h6. Bishop h6, queen takes h6, and knight g5 is coming. It's really unpleasant. So this is the reason. Yes, bishop h6 is a good move. Oh. So e4 is stronger, yes. I need to admit that e4 is stronger than f5 because of bishop h6. Yes, e4, so best line, and after white can play knight g5, knight d4, knight takes e4, but always black is playing f5 with reasonable contraplay. Okay, so now I will finish my lecture. I will go to sleep. Good night.